Okay, good day everyone. This is your Cerebral once again, and this will be our last video for the MySQL um, um, major module or lesson. No? So after this one, we'll be transitioning to next lessons, which was about entity relationship diagram concepts. No? So, this is just a kuan lang. I'll just discuss this not in detail because anyway, yung explanations naman dito are self-explanatory. But it's worth mentioning these last two lessons right here. Ito, the last one. The data types and the functions. Okay? So, this will not appear in your exam or whatsoever, but this will serve as your main reference or guide, no? If you're going to choose na your columns for your the data types for your columns, because there are plenty of data types to choose from, and sometimes choosing the best, choosing the data type will affect the performance of your database. So perhaps if you want to have more anyway, let's get down to the main content to get my point. Anyway, as mentioned right here, the data type of a column defines what values a column can hold. So if you're familiar with variables, just the same, no? We also have data types in our SQL columns, no? We have, and these are the following categories. We have categories pa lang to, We have integer, we have character, and we have monetary, no? Money, date and time, and binary, and so on. So as of version 8, these are the following data types, no? There are three main data types in MySQL: string, numeric, date and time. No? So as mentioned, as an SQL developer or database developer, must decide what type of data that will be stored inside each column when creating a table. No? You need to decide, no, carefully. No? So the data type is a guideline. No, as I mentioned, it's your guide. No, for SQL to understand what type of data is expected of each column, and it also defines how SQL will interact with the stored data, as we will see. No? So first, we have the following string data types. So I will not get into the a ton of here, but I will just highlight the most important ones. So the first is the char or char or whatever. So it's a fixed length string. So can contain letters, numbers, special characters. So the size anyway, the other one, yung counterpart po niya is varchar or variable length string. So that's the difference between the char and the varchar, is that the char is a fixed length string. So for example, if although yung pag anon mo ng column, you need to specify man a size, di ba? At least yung character, whatever is yung size na nilagay mo, it's like how do we this one? I'll just get my ito na lang. Okay, ito na lang. So think of let's say, just imagine this is a box and char 10 and varchar 10. So let's have a bit visual lang. Imagine each one of these are boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So in character, kasi fixed size siya, no? So which means if you create a column and then yung data type niya is character, 10 yung size niya, so fixed na yan. Yung automatic na whenever you insert a new value, it will automatically allocate 10 characters for that. So for example, B, C, and then yung remaining na mga na mga boxes, no, blanco yan. And let's try Stefan. And so the remaining boxes are blank, no? Unusable, no? So makita nyo, no, that if fixed length na yung gagamitin natin na character, there will be talaga some boxes or let's just say in reality this is what we call memory, no, memory allocation, no. Just think of it as boxes lang muna for a while, but basically kung character fixed length man siya, so there will be some spaces or boxes na hindi mo magagamit, na masasayang, no, kasi I'm sure that iba-iba naman yung mga length ng mga values na ilalagay natin sa column. So therefore definitely there are some strings, or there are some strings that maliit lang yung length, let's say 3 characters lang siya, yung iba 7 characters, yung iba pwede ding lumampas, let's say B, A. So yung remaining di na siya ma-allocate hanggang mapuputol siya. But in a varchar, if this was a varchar na data type, so although you have a maximum yung maximum size niya is 10, ganun pa rin yung scenario niya when this is a space, no, space to take note na. The difference na niya when it comes to varchar is mas tipid siya with the space, kasi kung ilan lang yung characters mo for that value, hanggang doon lang yung yung i-allocate niya na space. Same also with this one, but there are other advantages and disadvantages. Yung character in terms of performance, okay, performance wise, in terms of yung quick comparison in terms of storage, we'll go for varchar kasi yun nga mas matipid siya, no. But if we were to if we prefer the performance, no, I would say it's character, kasi yun fixed length na kasi siya, no, madali na lang you can tell difference, you can see the difference if even you try to search in other sources. Mas mabilis kang makaka-retrieve or maka-query ng data, ng values, no, from your database if character yung gagamitin mo na data type. Yan. So yan, that's my main point lang with this one, the difference between char and varchar. And then some other stuff. We also have tiny text, holds a string with a maximum length of 255 characters. So hanggang 255 characters lang siya. Whereas this one, yung the size parameters was the maximum colon length in characters. I think yung ibig sabihin niya nito is up to 65,535 characters sa isang value lang, no. So think of it as, so imagine an entire paragraph or an entire chapter of book, ilalagay mo as value for that column lang. So yeah, that's what varchar can accomplish, yes. But ito na talaga, if you want a bigger kaya nga kung paramihan na talaga, no, mas marami-rami na ng mga characters, if you want to hold on that column, no, text, so you could prefer text, no, So this one will hold 65,335 bytes of yeah. And then tiny blob. A blob usually ginagamit to for images or files, no. Usually images yung sinostore sa database or even documents. Pero if yung limit lang yan, yung pinaka maximum is 255 bytes. Yung medium blob that's 67 million bytes. Mas malaki-laki siya compared with the tiny blob. Medium text, this is just more mas malaki-laki siyang mas more upgraded version of the text, no, kasi it can hold 16 million characters na compared to the text. Okay, so pang ano na to, pang libro. So imagine a single column, a single value that can contain an entire book almost, no? Or perhaps a few chapters of a book. And if you want to have a column that can store entire book, siguro, I guess it's just an estimate lang, long text, no. Ito na tayo yung in terms of capacity, no, the long text. And yeah, that's all for string data types. Anyway, from time to time, you may perhaps want to check on this if ever makalimutan mo kung ano ba, so that if ever you're thinking of storing large text, no, you could try long text, medium text, or perhaps text. Depende na lang sa sa requirements, no? Now for the numeric data types, these are different data types that stores numbers, no, integers and decimals, no. So we have the bit. So the number of bits per value is specified inside. So the size parameter can hold a value of 1 to 64. Okay. And then anyway, this one maganda to, no. If you want to store yung column mo na numeric, yung gusto mo up to lang 0 to 255 lang yung bali. Kung signed siya, yung pinaka lowest value niya na pwede is negative 128, and then yung pinaka maximum niya is 127. Now if unsigned siya, pag sinabing unsigned, so positive, no, positive numbers lang yung yung allowed lang. So yung pinaka smallest value that can store is 0, and then yung maximum value that can store is 255. Now literally number 255. So yan, if you want to have a column na number siya, pero you want that it can only store small integers lang para makatipid sa space, so you should try a tiny int. And then this one, bool or boolean. So sometimes we have data types that we have columns that will store true or false lang. So instead of using number, kasi usually 0 represents false, positive numbers, or otherwise prefers through you can try this one, no? If you want to have if you have a column that stores true or false lang na values. Then we have small int. So this one is mas malaki-laki na to compared to the tiny int. This time ito na yung range of values niya if signed. Kung unsigned or positive values lang yung gusto mo i-store niya, so yung pinaka-limit na niya is up to 65,535 nga number. Okay? Dito characters, literally 65,535 nga number. Yan lang yung kaya. If you beyond 6 na to, wala na. Then medium int, mas malaki-laki na. Syempre, it's up to, I guess this is already million. And then we have the int, which is the usual ginagamit natin. Or no, so mas malaki-laki na siya for This is yung pinaka maximum value that you can store in an int na column is up to 4 billion. Yeah. And then we have big int. So mas malaki pa to talaga with the kaysa sa int, no. Ito, if you want to store values na di na kaya sa integer kasi up to 4 billion lang siya, chorba. Let's say umabot na ng 5 billion kasi ano ba to? Tama. Let's say if you want to store numbers na umaabot na ng 5 billion to 5 trillion to gazillion, yun, ito na. Big integer is the data type for that. Okay? So that's for whole numbers. Here, this time let's go with the numbers na may mga decimal points, no? Float. It will be removed in future, so I guess it's not recommended with this one, no? Itong floating, no? Okay, so float, I think if you're familiar with the, I'm not sure if familiar ka sa Java na float and double. So obviously mas if you want a more accurate na decimal, you will prefer with the double kaysa sa float, no? Kasi mas maliit lang yung niya, yung capacity niya. And then decimal, an exact fixed point number. The total number of digits is specified in size. So usually we typically use decimal if you want to store values na involves money, no? Kasi hindi pwedeng mamali yung mga decimal places ng pera, no? So more on financial purposes to yung decimal. Okay? And so yeah, as mentioned, no, if you add the unsigned option, kasi we do have that in our phpMyAdmin, specify mo unsigned siya, so meaning it will disallow negative values. Positive values na lang yung niya, yung it allowed to store for that. Now if you add zero fill option, MySQL automatically also adds the unsigned attribute to the column. Yan. Okay, so perhaps you can actually check this one on your phpMyAdmin. Okay, now we have date and time. Okay, data types. So first we have the date. So if you want to store lang year, month, and date, so this is it. Ito. But if involved na yung date tsaka yung time, rather than perhaps if you want to combine this together, date time yung mas maganda. Okay? Yung format niya, take note, year, month, date. Hour, month, hours, minutes, seconds. Yeah. And then timestamp, values are stored as the number of seconds since uni-epoch. I'm not really familiar much with the timestamp. Now, if you want ito, no? Let's say you don't want the date and you don't want date time. Gusto mo yung time lang. So here's the data type for that. Time lang yung niya, yung iso-store niya. Okay? The format is hours, minutes, and seconds. And then if you want na year lang, so ito, we also have a year in 4-digit format. Yeah. Okay, and I guess that's all for this. That's for data types, no? And meron pang isa, so I will cover also. Ito, I will not explain everything kasi it's just masyadong marami. It's just too many. We'll just show it to you so that you will have this. You will know that so many functions in MySQL that you can try. No? So one of that, ito na yun na encounter natin, the concat function, so which adds 2 or more expressions. Hindi siya add na literally 1 plus 1 magiging 2. If you remember concatenation, it's you are combining, ano mo siya, idudugtong mo yung parang nagdugtong ng dalawang string. Yeah? Okay. Then also format, insert, lowercase, left, length, lower. Okay, that's for these are our string functions, no, in general. So usually ginagamit siya for data types, ay columns that has data types na string.